Hello everyone, I'm Jack Grayle, and I wanted to talk to you for a bit about the function of the witch, the priestess, the magician, the sorcerer in magic, all right? So bear with me if you will, okay? And this comes with a caveat. Anytime anyone speaks about magic, sorcery, the spiritual or unseen world, they're talking from their own subjective experience based, hopefully, on their own efforts and their own research, and that's what I'm doing here, all right? So mileage may vary, but I ask you to stick with it. There's a lot of talk recently about what is the function, what makes a witch, what makes a priestess, what makes a sorcerer. When are you there, right? To the point where you can actually do something, have an effect on something, right? Look at this example. I'm going to throw out a scenario. You're sitting in a room like this, all right, indoors in the semi-darkness. A friend of yours knocks on the door. He comes in all excited. He has with him a thick glass lens, and he says, "Give me a piece of paper. I want to show you something." You say, all right, you give him one. He holds the lens over the piece of paper. He says, come on, come on, come on. Oh, it's not working. And you say, what are you trying to do? And he says, I'm trying to burn this piece of paper. You say, why would you think that would work? And he says, I was just at the park, just noon today, and this guy held this piece of glass over a piece of paper, and it caught on fire. You wouldn't believe it. And I bought it from him for $20, and now the stupid thing doesn't work. You say, well, of course it doesn't work. And he says, why? And you say, because it wasn't the glass burning the paper, it was the sun. And he says, no, it isn't. I've put paper in front of the sun many times, and it never caught fire. And you look at him, and you have two thoughts, hopefully. Okay, the first one is you may want to upgrade your friend pool. All right. The second one is he's completely failed to understand the function of the glass lens, right? Because it's true, he did see something, right? He did see someone hold the glass lens over a piece of paper, and presumably it began to burn. But he's made the incorrect assumption that the glass lens is somehow shooting out lasers or fire into the paper, when what you know is that the lens is refracting the sunlight in such a way so as to concentrate it and direct it so that it burns the paper. And its ability to do so, of course, is dependent on the sun being at full strength, on the paper being dry, and of course the lens being made of the proper material, being cut at the right width, having the right angle, and being held at the right degree to properly reflect the light to cause the burn. You know this all intuitively, okay? But the mistake your friend is making in that case is exactly the same mistake that a lot of people make when they try to understand what makes a witch, what makes a priestess, a sorcerer, a magician, all right? There's a lot of assumption going around that you have to be born with supernatural powers. You can hold out your hands and furrow your brow and make things levitate or explode or disappear, or things like that, or raise the dead at a word, or, change fate merely by a snap of your fingers. And this comes from watching shows that are entertaining, like Harry Potter and various TV shows that show people with supernatural powers. So it's easy to assume, well, people born into that role, who are a witch of Hecate or of some sort of magical system, can do that. And for most of us, that's not us, right? They can't do it. I can't do it. As far as I know, very few people can do this, right? Because it's not being a witch. That's being a superhero. It's being an X-Man. And I know some people think they have psychic powers, but their path is not mine. And if it's not yours, I encourage you to listen to what I say next. In my humble opinion, and based on my experience and studies, the role of the witch is like the role of the lens, yeah? The role of the witch is to translate, to concentrate, to focus a power that comes outside herself, that is greater than herself, in such a way that it can unweave and reweave fate. And by fate, I mean the normal course of destiny that otherwise would happen if not for her working. Okay? That's the paradigm, the comparison that I want to use. Now, what is that outer power? It goes by many names, and it depends what system you use, right? Some people are in the Greco, Roman tradition where they call upon gods like Zeus and Apollo. Other people come from a Judeo-Christian power. If you do grimoire magic, you call upon the Abrahamic God and angels. Other people, Eastern magic. Some people, Gnostic systems. Other people, transgressive adversarial systems. And some come up with their own. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's up to you. Okay? But that doesn't change the paradigm. And the paradigm as a power comes from without, and it's focused, concentrated, and refracted through the efforts of the witch, the priest, the sorcerer. Okay? Now, here's the thing. How do they do it, right? How's it done? Well, remember, not any old piece of glass will do. You know that right away. It has to be made of a certain material, has to be of a certain width, has to be cut at a certain angle, and it has to be held the right degree above the paper to do its job if it's going to cause a burn. In the same way, the witch has to be made of the right substance. And I'd argue, if you're watching this video, if you're interested in this world, if you're fascinated and drawn to esoteric spiritual traditions, you're already made of the right material. All right? In my opinion, there's no such thing as someone who's inherently born able to do this. To some, it comes easier, in the same way that sketching or surfing comes easier to some people, but I believe everyone can do it. If you're watching this, you're already the right material. But it's also got to be cut into the right shape, this lens, right? What cuts the witch into the right shape? What does it is forming a relationship with a power of the unseen world. That relationship is formed the same way normal relationships are, by spending time with a power, researching it, reaching out to it, making offerings to it. If it was Hecate, the easy choice, well, then you do some reading online. Who is she? What's she about? You look at traditional sources. What did they say of her 2,000 years ago? You look at more contemporary ones. What do they say about her today? What sort of days and offerings are acceptable to her? You might research the new moon is a typical time to leave an offering. Where's best? A liminal space, like the crossroads. What kind of offerings? There's bunches of different ones. Don't get too hung up on it. What are her manifestations? How does she appear? To some, a black dog, right? To others, images they might see in dreams of bulls or things like that. Or, as we talked about last time, you might develop your own language, your own iconography for that power. You spend time, you talk to it, you do divinations, you dream about it, you make offerings, you're not impatient. Over time, a relationship changes us. And you know that. A relationship with a lover, good or bad, changes the shape of your heart. A relationship with a teacher, good or bad, changes the shape of your mind. A relationship with a good artist changes your inspiration and your ability to create art. Well, likewise, a relationship with a spirit power changes our spirit. And by doing over time, and by time I mean at minimum, I think, 6 to 9 months, we slowly gestate a change within ourselves. We change our shape by the offerings we make and the conversations we have, and hopefully the relationship that's slowly formed to where what once was just an unshaped piece of glass eventually becomes a prism. And of course, while you're doing this, you're studying to learn what is the proper means of doing what we call magic. And here again, there's a number of paradigms, right? You might be attached, as I am, to the magic of the Greek magical papyri, these scrolls from Roman Egypt from 2,000 years ago. You might be attached to a 100-year-old Wiccan tradition, that was initiated at the early part of the last century in Britain and then came to the U.S. You might be part of a fraternal magical lodge. You might have Eastern traditional praxis. All right, there's different paths to this end, but the paradigm remains the same. And eventually, once you feel like you have a relationship, you do the things necessary to make the magic happen when you want to have a result, right? Doing things to make it happen is like deciding how close should the lens be to the paper, what angle is best, how do you focus that beam, yeah? And that's where the person doing the working, the ritualist, might make an effort to choose a certain day for a working, a certain phase of the moon. What sort of incense might you burn? What sort of offering? Would you prepare yourself ahead of time in how you dress, how you consecrate your space? Something as simple as what would you eat the day of, if you do? What will you not do or not do in the days leading up to the working? Right? What words will you say? How will you do the invocation, the conjuration? What system is intuitive and seems inherently workable to you? And you do it. And then just like the person with the lens, you see if it works, which is the most important part, right? You can hold the lens above a piece of paper and not get a burn. And then you need to adjust what you did. It's trial and error. And this is trial and error too. Yeah? But it's a great relief to me that you don't need to be a superhero with superpowers to do this kind of work. You simply have to be in relation to something greater than yourself. And some people may balk at that and say, well, I don't know, I'm not, an Egyptian reconstructionist. I don't do Hellenic, magic by the book. I'm not doing exactly some system. I don't even maybe know if the gods are real or if they come from within me. I say don't worry about it. These questions no one will ever know, right? They're intuitive, they're personal, they're internal. They're like what you find funny or sexy. People can't tell you what your responses should be. It's something you decide for yourself. What I can say is, in my experience, results only come when you accept as the paradigm for magic that it is the ability to compel change through the agency of spirit allies. A spirit ally is an entity of the unseen world, whether it's an angel or a Greek god or an Egyptian serpent guardian or some sort of transgressive infernal spirit or something. You do your work and research. You reach out to that power. You, through trial and error, come to the conclusion whether something has connected. You build that relationship. And then, using the paradigm of the path you've chosen, you do the working when the time is right and when the need arises. And when you do, you understand that you're less like a laser shooting a beam and more like a power cord, more like a conduit, more like a lens through which the power flows. And you concentrate it, and you direct it, and you do everything you can to determine, is it working? Because ultimately, all these efforts should ideally make your life better, or the people you're trying to help, right? While the process and the understanding is subjective, the results should not be. And keep in mind, the results don't always mean you get exactly what you want. You can have healthy relationships with people where you don't always get everything you want, right? But over time, there should be this understanding, this person is good for me. This person is good to me. I'm happy to be in this relationship. I don't always get what I want. Most of the time, I don't get what I want. But there's value here. I feel respected, honored. I feel in rapport with this person, and my life is richer for it. That's what we're going for here. And that is what you should internally be examining regularly. Am I happier, healthier, better balanced, and more joyful for going down this path and doing the work I'm doing? So keep that in mind, right? I want to thank you for listening. Again, I'm Jack Grayle. I teach at the Blackthorn School various courses, including one on Hecate or Hecate, and another one on the Greek magical papyri. So have a great day and be well.